Okay. Looks like it, by my watch, it's 7, almost. 20 seconds, and we are being recorded as of now. Is that right?
It's at 6:59 on the lower part of the monitor here. It's
Okay.
almost 7.
I don't want to
Yeah,
jump
it's just
again.
There it
7
is,
o'clock.
7 o'clock.
Official. Dun, 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 dun.
Ta-da! Okay. Good evening. So at 7 p.m., welcome to the Snoqualmie Parks and Events Commission meeting. I am the new chair, Emily Anderson. I just really want to take a moment to thank Paul for everything that he did and for everyone's support over the next couple months while I figure out this new role. Today's meeting is being recorded and will be available on the city's website. Thank you for joining us, everybody who's here. We're going to start with roll call. I've introduced myself. Do we want to each take a turn and say who we are so we know who is here?
Heather Palmerini's here.
Thank you.
Scott Vermeulen. Hello. Happy New Year.
Paul Swim. Happy New Year.
And Ryan Pryor.
Okay. Do we need to, should we take, is that just for the commissioners, I'm assuming, or do other people want to introduce themselves too? Because I know there's at least one new face, not a new name, but a new face for those of us. So it would be great maybe if we just did everybody.
Sure. I'll jump in. My name is Jeff Hamlin. I am the city engineer and currently temporary public works director.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Great. And then we have Ethan back there.
Yeah, I'm here liaising.
Good. And I see Nicole. Great. And Dina.
I'm here.
Okay. Sounds good. So it sounds like next is to move to approving the agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda as it is?
I motion to approve.
Okay, thanks, Ryan. And anyone seconding that?
I'll second. Heather, go ahead. Be official.
It's okay. I'll second. Yeah.
Okay, so Ryan Pryor approved and Heather Palmerini / Paul seconded to approve the agenda as it is. Any discussion on that? No? Okay, all those that approve say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say nay. There's our silence. Okay, motion passes unanimously for the approval of the agenda. Next, moving on to public comments. So this time we'll provide time for residents to provide public comments. I don't see that anybody has joined us. Do we then need to wait 3 minutes or do we just see if anybody wants to join in with a public comment?
I have a public comment. Happy New Year, everybody.
Yay!
Yay.
Okay.
Fireworks,
Here. Mhm.
champagne, virtual champagne. There we go. There's my public comment.
Love it. So glad everyone could make it either from at home or in person. And let's hope this inclement weather gives you time at least to get home safely before you can get cozy. Okay. Can I move on or do we need to allow people more time? Does anyone else have a public comment to make? Any other happy anything?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
You don't have to wait. You make the offer at the time, and if nobody's there to take it, you just move right on. You're a busy
Great.
woman.
Okay, sounds good. So then it's your turn, Ethan. So we have our council liaison report.
Yeah, the main thing that I wanted to mention was that tomorrow night is the Parks and Open Spaces open house. Dina, what time does that start?
I don't know.
It
think
starts
it's
at
6 or 6:30?
At the Y, at the community center.
it starts at 6 and goes till 7:30.
And is that here at City Hall or is that at the Y?
It's actually at the library.
At the library,
At the
okay,
library.
all right, so if you guys could make it, that would be really valuable. more, I mean, certainly your opinions are very important, but more, to hear the opinions of the people that show up. I think it's really important for you guys to know. I mean, you guys are all, you have strong opinions about our parks and open spaces, and that's fantastic. But in any representative position, if you're only representing your view, then you are well, you're not, you're just representing one person. And I know you guys are interested in representing the city, and this is an opportunity for you to hear what they have to say. I am disappointed that I will be working at the time and won't be able to go myself, but I wanted to encourage all of you guys to check out that open house and come with your mouths as open as you want, but make sure your ears are open too. That was the main thing that I wanted to say.
Do we need to be clear about whether we're representing ourselves or the commission? Do you think?
Well, you know, I mean, it's an open house and you are a citizen and you have a right to represent Paul. But I'm hoping that your mind and your ears will be listening to the people of the town, because they have wildly differing positions on a lot of this parks and open spaces stuff.
I just didn't know if it would behoove us to call that out to one effect or another. We're just representing ourselves.
Well, I don't think you need to go incognito if you want to say
I'm bag over my head.
Yeah, you know, if you want to say that you're on this commission, I think that there's nothing wrong with that at all. People are going to want to share their opinions with people who are on the Parks and Events Commission. And I think you should not be shy about your opinions either. But you know, it's a good opportunity to hear what the people that you're representing are thinking. The main thing that I wanted to say. Well, I guess is the on the agenda is the all-inclusive park going to be on the agenda tonight? Is that something you guys are going to be talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, it's exciting to see the progress that's being made over there as well. That's all I had to say as liaison.
Is the consultant there tomorrow night?
I think so. I think there's a consulting firm that I think is they're the ones conducting.
They're conducting it and therefore taking notes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
On the feedback they get.
And they're a consulting firm that has done this sort of consulting in other places around the country.
Right.
And from what I've been able to gather, for the towns that I've called about them, they do a really good job of.
Perkins Cooley, is that what it was?
I can't remember, but it seems like there was a P in there, or maybe I just had to pee. I don't know.
The firm? The firm is called Kimley Horn.
Kimley Horn, there you go.
Thank you.
Okay. But they, according to the folks in other cities that I was able to talk to that have used them, they did a great job. Yeah, they should be there.
Okay, that sounds great. Do we have any idea of how many of us can make it? I probably can.
I'm gonna try to make it.
I might be able to.
I'm 90% sure I'll be there because I love to ask stupid questions.
This would be the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just have a question or a comment. Ethan, I agree that public input is great and our involvement is also critical to that process. I've gone to a couple of these and it's a little awkward to walk in and not really know what our role is or where we should be or who we should talk to. I think it would be beneficial going forward, probably too late for this one, but going forward, give us a role. Give us a place to be within these meetings. Give us a table. This is where we can be. This is who we are. This is what we're here for. And then I think we would truly feel like we're part of the meeting. We're meant to be there, and the public can identify who we are and feel free to come up to us. Because again, the ones that I've gone to, you kind of walk in circles trying to figure out where you stand and who you should talk to, but you're really not part of it. You're kind of part of it, but you're not part of it. So anyway, that's just my input on maybe what we can do going forward. Give us a real role in this and see if that makes a difference and helps.
Well, we could give you guys name tags with with your kind of, identifying you as being a commission member. I think that would be is probably the best role you could do, because there really is no roles. It's an open house, right? So we're not presenting anything really. I mean, nobody's going to be giving a presentation, but there will be information available, and we'll be asking folks to give us but people will be filtering in and out throughout that time period. So it's not like there's any real presentation role.
Yeah, no presentation role, just we are the members of the Parks Commission. We're here to represent, just I guess, something that introduces us to the public and helps them identify with who we are and what our role might be. Maybe we can work through this in future meetings, but maybe just something to give us an opportunity to represent really who we are, and as Paul said, not as an individual, but as a member of the commission.
Because this is a governing document that affects part of what we do at this open house.
Right.
Yeah, Nicole.
Yeah, I think an example of a role, and it's granted it's in the past, but maybe it's something that we can work towards, is this summer at the block party, we had a booth that was, the splash pad had been approved. So we were talking about the splash pad and just informing the public. And then we had information about the pool and the community center. That situation, if we'd have had people there, I think could have been an opportunity, Scott, where you would have felt as a commissioner, you had seen the splash pad before, you'd seen the different elements, and you could be more of like an ambassador, or like, hey, this is really cool. We gave this our stamp of approval. So I think if we have these types of engagement opportunities moving forward, we can maybe work with you guys on that. As far as tomorrow, I think be yourself. If it's just be yourself and maybe talk about or just introduce yourself and just say, oh, do you have any questions? Because you are on this commission to speak for the people in the community and your neighbors and your friends, and you're kind of again, that ambassador, where you're also maybe this gatekeeper of information, and you can get the pulse of the community tomorrow night. So I think tomorrow, just kind of go with the flow and see what the vibe is and how you feel like engaging with your neighbors. I don't know if that helps or hurts, but I just wanted to clarify some of that.
Oh, that's good input. Thank you.
I have a question. Will there be any surveys to fill out, or is this just all verbal communication? Tomorrow's open house?
I think there will be kind of a suggestion box.
Oh.
Dylan sent something out today about it. You got it on the email. I'm not exactly sure. But if you want to go, there's a link to it, and there's a lot of information on the city's website, which talks about how that's going to be done.
This is just additional opportunities for the city to get out into the community and hear feedback. There was a community survey that was done last year. There were questions regarding the pool. So it's just additional time for the community to come back and have their questions answered and provide public comment. I think oftentimes people don't know, or maybe they're intimidated by going to city council and speaking. And this is more of an informal environment for people to ask their questions. And like Jeff says, there's going to be, if not a suggestion box, there's going to be people there. There'll be, things you can write down, or you'll be given an email if you want to go home, or people want to go home and compose their thoughts and email some information in.
Okay, sounds great. So we've talked a lot about it. This is later on in our agenda as well. Do we want to keep moving forward because this was part of the council liaison report, or do we want to keep talking about this event now?
We could probably move
Okay,
on.
let's move on. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Ethan. Thanks for your liaisoning work.
Liaising.
Liaising. I kind of like liaisoning. So now we're going to move on to the approval of minutes from our last meeting on November 20th. Do I have anyone who will make a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Great. Thanks, Heather. Anyone seconding that?
I second.
Okay, great. Thanks, Ryan. All right. So motion by Heather and seconded by Ryan to approve the minutes dated November 20th of 2023. And now onto our regular business. So next on the agenda.
Did you want to vote or take discussion on that?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Is all those in favor of approving the minutes from November 20th, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed, say nay. Nobody is opposed. Thanks, guys. Okay. Now moving on to tonight's agenda. Do we need to approve this one too, or can we just move on?
So we already approved tonight's agenda.
Yeah, great. Okay, thanks, Tina.
Huh?
Okay. So it says regular business, agenda and agenda procedures.
So that was my item.
Good.
Just moving forward, typically agendas for council committees and other commissions are set by staff in conjunction with the chair.
Okay.
So I would propose that moving forward, that any commissioners who have agenda topics reach out to your chairperson, who will then reach out to the staff liaison, which is Jeff, moving forward. So all your idea, because I am managing, 5 or 6 different meetings, and I can't be taken. I mean, not to like be rude or anything, but don't mean to be. But it's just I can't, and I don't know which staff.
Need to streamline it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know which staff is going to be available to be at these meetings. So, but Jeff would know. He would know who can come, and he knows what's going on with the project. So, setting the agenda through Jeff is going to be the best bet.
I think that's really helpful to know. So any commissioners, you can send me an email. Jeff, when would you like that, the agenda items by? How far
whenever
out?
you get them to me. Most of this stuff I know pretty well, so I'll be able to I don't have to do a whole lot of preparation to talk at length about any of these things. So you give them to me a couple days ahead of time, and I'm good to go.
Okay, so if our meeting is usually on a Monday, do you want it by Thursday?
That'd be great.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for all of the other meetings with the city, the deadline to staff is Thursdays at noon.
Okay.
I have to get all the agendas out by 5 p.m. on Thursdays. So I would recommend Wednesdays, just because Jeff might have stuff going on too. I might not be able to get back to you right away.
I got nothing going on.
Yeah.
Right.
The earlier the better. I am slammed. It's difficult to prepare presentations.
And then he can update the planning schedule, which is our main document for all the meetings. So
the commissioners contact Emily by Wednesday at the latest, and she'll coordinate with Jeff. Okay.
Yep. So Jeff, you just had Dina advocate for you there in your workload. So by Wednesday night, everyone, and then if maybe you have a last minute thought on a Thursday morning, we'll see how Jeff's doing, if he can get it in.
Yeah.
Sound good?
That'd be good.
Okay. Thank you for letting us know that. That helps us kind of streamline moving forward how to go about it.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else with that, Dina? Are we ready to move on to project updates?
That was all.
Okay, great. Jeff, is that you giving us some project updates?
I guess
tonight?
so. So
Mike's not here.
Honestly, I barely knew you guys existed until last week, so I didn't really prepare anything. I thought I would take this opportunity to find out what you guys wanted to see from us. I mean, do you just want me to give you a kind of a brief status report on all of these things, or were you expecting more? I guess I'd really like to know what you guys would like to see. That would help me. I don't have tons of time to prepare a lot of presentation materials for you. Council and committees take care of most of that. But if I do have things generated for councilmatic activities, then I will more than happy to share that with you. And of course, any of these projects, I can talk I mean, our first up is the community center, and I could fill up this hour on that project alone.
Can I weigh in on this?
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
question too.
And please follow up after my thing here. It seems that the pattern so far has been to update us on the recent developments with a given project.
Okay.
And then usually there's some follow-up questions after that for each item. And that seems to keep it a little bit more bullet point-ish, you know. And since our meetings are month to month, you know, you just sort of look at the window of the last month and what has developed and where we are and what you can tell us, I guess.
Okay, sure.
And anyone else can weigh in on that?
I guess I'm a little confused. I apologize. Jeff, could you please remind me of your title again?
I'm the city engineer. And I'm also the deputy public works director, and currently I'm the interim public works director.
Okay, and so are you replacing Mike's previous role with this committee?
Is on an interim basis.
I feel like people keep jumping in staff, and I honestly I'm lost with. Yep. So is that correct?
Yeah. Well, Mike Chambliss is now the city administrator. He has been promoted to the city administrator. I was the deputy director for public works, so I am on an interim basis acting as the public works director. So replacing Mike, at least temporarily.
Okay.
Until they hire a new public works director.
Mike has his passion, his career. He came to the city with Parks and Public Works, and we've had to kind of like usher him to that role and let him know that he has to cut ties. And, you know, Jeff has been holding down the fort a lot in the last several years in this capacity. I can attest to Jeff's knowledge of all the projects in the last 5 years. And Mike, they were kind of dual, I can't see. Mike was maintaining this role even in his interim city administrator status, but now the time has come where we need Mike Chambliss to focus on being a city administrator. So admittedly, okay, Heather, we've been through a lot in the last few years, but Jeff has been behind the scenes the whole time.
So where I feel like there was a man introduced at some point who came from managing a golf course. Maybe Roger, is that correct?
No. Yeah, no, he was a temporary parks manager.
Oh.
Yeah, and so he's gone. He was here for a little while and then he's gone. Okay. So now we have a new parks manager who is a guy named Tim Barrett, and I'm going to introduce you to him here probably at the next meeting. I'll have him prepare some kind of presentation for you, one to introduce himself, and then maybe to give you a little bit of an idea about what his vision is for running the parks department. We're still developing that right now.
And will he, since this is the Parks and Events Commission, will he then begin attending these meetings monthly? Or
yes.
Okay.
So Jeff, part of the back in the day, Larry attended these meetings, which is Larry is the equivalent of Tim that Jeff is speaking of.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jeff, I'm trying to keep you, I'm getting you caught up here with the whole family tree.
Right. Yeah.
I was essentially trying to figure out. Yes. Thank you, Nicole. That explains it perfectly.
So Jeff is, go ahead.
Heather, I thought I missed something because I'm over here whispering to Ethan, like, what's going on? Where'd Mike go?
Oh, he's a new city manager.
Yeah, so I didn't.
Yeah, I missed that too.
Apparently.
Right. Well, I find it interesting that as commissioners, we're missing these bits of information. Emily just said she missed it too. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a fairly new development that just happened in the last month or so.
Okay. Is it honestly, I feel quite stupid in these situations. Is it possible that someone could let commission members know? Because honestly, when I'm out speaking with people in the community and trying, I mean, I just helped somebody the other day direct them to an issue with the Stellar Park water fountain. I mean, I definitely have members of the community contact me, looking for points of contact who, aren't volunteers like Emily and Paul and Scott and I. And so I feel that at times we're not informed about these changes. Is there any way that we could be updated?
Well,
Or
certainly, we push that information out on a routine basis. Mike's promotion was announced by the city. So do you get the regular updates from the city? If you're on the email distribution list,
Okay.
then you would get those.
The,
And
the
so,
weekly e-news is where anytime there's a press release or something like this, they put it in the e-news. So if you go to the city website, it says contact us or follow me, I would say follow the weekly e-news. That's what Jeff referring to. And every week this breaking news is in there. Because I'm not thinking you guys are reading the Valley Record or this or that, but you also could get all of the press releases when those come out if you wanted to get that, but that's
yeah,
up to you. But we
the
don't
mayor's
usually
report.
send anything to all commissions. We just send general press releases or the e-news.
Mhm.
okay.
But if I understand it correctly, Jeff, you've been around long enough and are familiar enough with all these projects you're speaking to, you're essentially some institutional knowledge here.
Yeah, absolutely. Pretty
Okay.
much every project, I manage the engineers. So the project managers who do these projects, I manage them. So I'm familiar with all of the projects and involved with at least most of the big decisions. And yeah, I oversee the whole department.
And
Great.
while you're in this interim role, both you and Tim will be attending these meetings, our meetings.
Initially, yeah. Initially, yes, I'll attend them, and we'll see how it develops. But yeah, my intent is to attend these meetings.
Okay, great. We're glad to have you.
All right, yeah, nice to be here.
Congrats on the promotion.
Well, it's not really a promotion, but
Oh.
thank you.
On the extra work.
Yeah, right. Okay, so let's talk about the community center. Are you guys familiar with the community center? I mean, obviously you know that we have a community center, but are you familiar with the community center expansion project?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would say quite. Yep, we've looked at some of the blueprints or some of the different layouts for different options. We haven't talked about it
Mhm.
probably in
Oh, good.
what, 3 months, something like that.
Right. Okay. So if you've seen the options, then what you probably saw was our programming report. So uh, I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with building development projects, but typically there's this planning phase, right? So the planning phase was done. There's a community outreach. So we had these planning sessions with the community. We had three different sessions going back to 2019. COVID kind of interrupted all that. We got some early input. Then we went to a design. This project is being done as a design build, a progressive design build project, which has a lot of different aspects to it. Typically, it just makes a project go much faster, and it gives cost surety, which is usually comforting to an owner like the city. So we went through a selection process. We hired a consultant, or not a consultant, a contractor. We hired the contractor. The contractor picks the consultants that they use, although they had us participate in that selection. So we have Absher Construction is the winning contractor, and then ALSC is the architect. And those are the two main partners on the project. And that's the design build team. Now, underneath them, they have a multitude of other sub consultants. Kaufman Engineering is doing the electrical and the mechanical. We have a lead consultant. We have a geotech consultant. We have, just gobs of consultants. Those are all selected by the contractor. We have moved, after we do this kind of early planning stage, we move into what's called programming, where we figure out what size the building is going to be, what spaces we want to include in the building. And so what you were looking at when you were looking at those options was this programming phase where we are considering different building options and configurations with different capacities, capabilities, and costs. So through that process, we refined it and we gave presentations to council, got council's opinions and their input on it. And we have selected a configuration. And following programming with the selected configuration, we move on to what's called design development. So we have been working through design development and we just wrapped that up. So we just had our 100% design development meeting last week, and we're going to do what's called a page turn here next week. And so we'll actually have I would say about a 50% level set of plans that we'll work through with our stakeholders, YMCA primarily, to get their input on figuring out small details. Do we want a coffee bar over here? Do we like these colors? We're getting down into those kinds of details. What type of flooring, what type of roofing, cladding, all the little things that go into building design. We're making those decisions now as part of the design development phase. So following design development phase, then we move into what's called final design, where we're actually putting plans together and permitting. We want to submit permits by early March. Sometime in mid-March, the energy code is going to change, and that is going to add a lot of cost to the project. So the idea here is to get those plans in. If we get our permit applications in before the energy code changes, then we're vested, essentially grandfathered into the old system, so we can avoid those costs. Now, the thing that we're working towards is this thing called a guaranteed maximum price. So once we get all the decisions made, then the contractor will give us a price, is what they call the guaranteed maximum price. This is what their best guess at what it's going to cost to build it, plus their profit. So, and they bid it down to, I think it was 3.5%. So they're working on low margins, but they have cost certainty here. So that's good. The only thing that we don't have sorted out yet is how we're going to fund it. We have not figured out all the funding yet. And so we are going to be at an impasse here by April or May if we don't come up with some additional funding. And one thing that council mentioned to us that is lacking is this idea that there is no kind of groundswell of community support. We know a lot of people want it. We've done surveys. The survey indicates that there's general desire to have this building constructed, but the council's not hearing anything from the community. So we have 2 open houses planned. One is this Thursday at the YMCA. I want to say that starts at 5 o'clock at the YMCA. Look for, if you get on the emails, if you get the city emails, it'll tell you. But we do have, there's a whole project page on the city's website with a lot of information on it. But if you support the project and you want to have some input on it and you'd like to come and see what we've developed, we have several displays. We have, I think, 8 or 9 tables set up with a different topic. And so please come by the YMCA on Thursday, the 18th, and then we're having another open house on the 31st. And both pretty much the same the same thing, but it's mostly just to try to get community to come out and provide some input and see if there's support there to continue on with the project. We have our latest guess is it's going to cost about $32 million to build the thing complete. That's the total price. I mean, that includes sales tax and administrative costs and everything. The building itself is about $28 million. The expansion, I should say, not the building. And it's a significant expansion. And right now we have about $20 million and we need to get more funding. There's, I'd say, a fairly good likelihood that funding will come. It's just that it's not here yet. And there's some grants we can probably shake some more money out of YMCA, and there's the possibility that we could bond some small amount of it. So we haven't got there yet. And so I think that for this project to move forward, we're going to need to see a fair bit of community support, because the city has some financial difficulties at the moment that are kind of challenging the notion that we should be spending this kind of money on a community center.
Jeff,
So,
can I ask you a question, please?
yes, of course.
Yeah, okay, so I got lost a bit in the planning part that you discussed. First off, are the plans for the pool finalized? Have you chosen something that's final, what the pool will look like?
Yes, the configuration, yes.
Can you briefly explain that to us?
Yeah, sure. So it includes a 6-lane lap pool, which is sized appropriately to provide for swimming events. So swimming competitions.
At the high school level?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Is there a deep end in that pool?
I don't know how deep it gets. I think 8 feet is as deep as it gets. It should be, well, according to the pool people, you can do water polo in it, but I think that the shallow end is pretty shallow. So you'd be like, I don't know if they can actually do it, but
Sorry to interrupt you, Heather. Yeah, it's a deep water aerobics matter. And without a deep end, you limit a lot of activities, both water safety, etc. So
there's also a recreational pool. So there's a 6-lane lap pool, and then there's a recreational pool. And the recreational pool has 4 mini lanes. I think that's around 6 feet deep. So I think that is for water aerobics. It also provides, it's varying depths. So they can do up to, I think, 8 swim classes in that portion of the pool. There's also what's called the lazy river, which is good for therapeutics. It's a current channel. And then there is a little zero entry kiddie side where you can literally walk, wade right into that pool without going down any stairs. So it's a nice facility. It's kind of on par with what you see at the other YMCA's. Fairly good size. Pretty much the full meal deal. We looked at other options, smaller options, a little bit more austere. We pared it back to just a single tank of water, but that didn't really get a lot of support. I think one of the comments that we heard from the community so far is, don't underdo it. Don't build it too small, because it's, we'll be disappointed with it. And so what we're building here is based on what we think the community will support. And that's based primarily on what the YMCA has calculated based on the formulas that they use all over the country for deciding or for sizing facilities like this.
I have a question in regards to, you said that the pool can accommodate high school swim meets. Is the school board contributing financially to this project?
No, they're not.
And
that was my question too.
that was gonna be my question too.
yeah, I mean,
We know that you asked them.
you haven't asked them?
We did ask. Oh, of course we did.
Oh yeah, they asked.
Okay, that's what I thought. So I honestly, that's one of the big things I've heard in the community, where people haven't seemed in support of the new facility, is that it was not going to be able to accommodate high school swim meets. So the facility will indeed be able to accommodate that, but
the current design has that. Yeah.
Okay, but even with that current design, the school district is not financially supporting.
We thought that they were going to contribute something to the amount of $2 million, maybe more. And then they have other issues that they have financial difficulties at the moment. And so they decided not to.
Every school district does. Yeah.
Every school district does.
Maybe once it's built, they can pay to play at that point, because I know they pay for pool usage now.
They do, don't they practice at the club?
Yeah, and they pay for that.
Yeah.
This is kind of a different, this is a build it and they will come kind of idea, right? So if they would have contributed, they likely would have received discounts for pool rental. for their swim team events. This would be the opposite. They don't contribute anything, but they have to pay, significantly more to use it, to rent the pool.
Okay, do you know if part of the lack of community support has to do with possibly not knowing how the community would be able to use the facility without actually being a member of the YMCA?
Possibly. I think that might have something to do with it. I think maybe we have
I
not done a
has
good
a
enough.
lot. I think it has a lot to do with it, to be honest.
Yeah, perhaps. I don't think that the city has done probably enough to generate community support, right? I think a lot of people don't even know that we're considering expanding the Y.
I think you're very right.
Yeah.
Yes, and I do hear from other people that like they don't understand how it will work. Is it another club membership? You know, we pay to swim at the club, so how will we be able to access the pool without paying a YMCA fee? Um, I think I think the community needs a better understanding of that. I'm not sure if you can provide that, if that's something you know. I
I do
know
know.
you do know.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
then I think somehow that should get out into the community.
Yeah. If you come to the open house, one of the open houses, you can talk to the Y and they can give you the full rundown. But they provide memberships. They also will have day swims. There's a fee, of course. You don't get it free. But if you're a citizen of the community of Snoqualmie, then there are discounts, both for memberships and I believe for day use.
The Sammamish Y does a community swim free to community members on Sundays, last I checked, before they
Yeah, they may
started
do
the
something like that.
renovation.
Mhm.
So Jeff, the windfall or the gap we're looking at is 16 million
No,
ish.
no, the gap is
How much?
right around 11 million.
11 million.
Mhm.
So, where has there been any discussion about aggressive push towards events like, I mean, not like a Hollywood gala dinner or whatever, but I mean, my
I think
home front would slap down 500 a plate for a dinner to raise money.
they're looking for ideas. I think that's a terrific idea. Any
Okay,
idea that you have, I'd say bring it to the open house or just send it to us. We're trying to figure out, thinking about selling bricks. We're talking about, just everything. Talking to the various business communities around the valley to see
because
if there's
there are
support.
deep pockets out there that could help you with that gap. It's
Yeah,
a matter of alerting them to it and getting the motivation behind
right.
with events.
I think
Yep.
Scott has something to say.
Yeah, Jeff, do we ever look at leveraging those public notice boards when there's construction pending as a way of maybe reaching that part of the community that isn't on social media, who doesn't get the city notifications?
Public notice boards, meaning like a project sign?
Yeah, something like
Yeah,
that could be
we do that on
helpful.
every one of our projects, or
Uh,
pretty much every one of them.
would this be the right time to put one in front of the Y?
I think probably it's now is, well, we don't know that we're building it yet, so I think maybe some kind of a public board. I think right now we're really ramping that up, so that's not a bad idea.
Thank you.
And what would be a critical window of time to make an aggressive push on
Now.
trying to raise money through creative
Right now,
means?
right
Okay.
now, we're behind. Yeah, we should have
You're
done it.
behind.
It should have been done 6 months ago, in my opinion. Yeah.
I
So
have an, oh, sorry.
go ahead.
I just have another question since it sounds like you have an idea of how it will be run. I've noticed that the Skyview pool now, I don't know how long it's been, fairly recent, takes priority for their swim lessons to Skyview district residents. How will that work with this pool? It's a community center / YMCA. Will there be preference given to people that are in the community boundaries, which I don't even know what that means. Since swim lessons are in such hot demand, I mean, it's really hard to find. So now they have restrictions. How would that work with this pool?
Well, I think the side view pool suffers from its size. It's so small, right? Where this pool will be sized sufficiently, I think they said they can do up to 8 or maybe 12 swim lessons simultaneously at this pool. So I don't think there's going to be any shortage or competition for trying to get pool time.
Okay.
There's going to be open swim. There's going to be, you know, lessons. You know, they're going to have block out periods for different types of activities.
Okay.
And I think there'll be plenty of room. They sized it for that purpose.
That's great. That's great.
Okay, so what, oh,
Mind if I
go
kind
for
of
it.
relay a question to our liaison? Has there been any discussion at the council level about ways to raise money for this project, or?
There have been a lot of discussions that what we're talking about are millions of dollars. With the side view project that was recently defeated by the voters because they didn't want to pay for it with a bond. Which has also been the case with Snoqualmie 3 times in the past 15 years. With that project, there was county and state. Jeff, was it county and state funds that were pledged to it in the amount of somewhere between 3 and 5 million? How much was it?
It was county. It was a grant. It was the King County Aquatics Grant. And they had received $4 million, but and that was several years ago, and they have never been able to get that project off the ground. They wanted, I think they needed something like in the order of $30 million, and they were going to bond a wad, and they only had like another $1 million saved up. So they needed to bond that whole thing. We're a little bit different here in that we got an aquatics grant as well, but for only $1 million. That the maximum grant that's allowable is 5 million. So we think that they intended, because the upper valley has no pool complex at all except for the side view, which is undersized. So they know that this area is underserved by pool facilities. So we think that when the side view bond failed, the vote failed on that bond, that the county is going to claw back that $4 million from them. And we're hoping they'll give it to us. They're not going to just give it to us, however. We have to apply for it in the beginning of 2025. And we would hope that we would get that additional $4 million. And that would be available to us by about May of 2025, which would be while we are under construction. So that would be the perfect time for that to show up.
There's been a lot of polling about pools in Snoqualmie. There have been questions at the council level about how telling those questions are, how telling the poll questions are. If you ask people, do you like pools? You get an enormously high number of people who like a pool. Some of the folks on the council have suggested that maybe we need to indicate that this is not going to be a cheap pool, that it's going to have to be paid for. The question is, how much does that affect people's response that they want a pool? This is a very expensive project, and if you consider the fact that there are so many millions that have been banked over the last couple decades of development on the ridge, specifically for a project like this, a large expenditure that is positive for the community. The default for that has been a community center expansion with a significant pool. It's not necessarily the only way that the money could be spent, but it is one of the projects that has been a discussion point for the last couple of decades. That wouldn't it be great if we had a community pool? Because as Jeff pointed out, this area is very underserved in that arena. I was at the meeting where the school board meeting where this was brought up, and I was very disappointed. If I can be totally transparent, I was very disappointed in that meeting because I'm hopeful about the community pool. I think it'd be great to have good pool access, but the message that was sent, at least to me, and you can get other people's opinions on the meeting, but the message that was sent to me by the board was, yeah, we've got about a couple $1 million that we could commit to this project, but we've got some buildings that need new roofs, and we don't feel like doing it now, but maybe when our next bond passes, then we can go ahead and okay the community center expansion, which is in my opinion, and you are welcome to quote me on this, a completely myopic way of looking at this problem. This is a sort of strike while the iron's hot kind of problem. And as far as I'm concerned, the school board was given an opportunity to say, okay, the iron is hot, we're going to strike. And instead they said, no, we're not ready to okay this project. And quite frankly, the students on the school board, there's student representatives on the school board as well, and those students were saying, hey, look, I know people who are on the swim team and they would love this, but I also know that the rest of the student body is going to say, what the heck do we get out of this money? What are we losing that this money is being spent on a pool? And I think it's really important for you to listen to community members at this event tomorrow, because there are very important points that are made, that we live next to a river and kids need to know how to swim. Yep. That there are projects that are going to take place in that community center expansion that will help people, and you know, that's a valid position. There are other valid positions, and I think it's important to listen to the folks who show up and talk about this, because everybody has, I think the only fair way to look at it is that these millions of dollars that have been banked, if you dice them up among the citizens of Snoqualmie, that's about, you know, just doing my very poor elementary school math, it's about $2,500 per voter. They have a vested interest in this, and they should be heard. And the point about, well, do I have to pay all that and then also be a member of the Y in order to be able to use the pool is a valid question. And you're right, Heather, if that isn't clearly messaged to people, that's going to be a deal breaker right there for a lot of folks. So the messaging is really important. I think Ryan has something to say here. Emily. Thank you.
That was fantastic, Ethan.
Yeah.
Good points. Thank you. I wanted to back up to one question when you talked about the funding grant from being able to claw the money back that Sideview originally had, right? You mentioned that money, if you were approved for, would be coming by the time you were mid-construction in 2025. So is it possible to start construction without having all your funding sources guaranteed? Or is it basically you have to bond up to that amount, but then you can now recoup the money that you get from a grant, and reduce the bond amount at that point?
You nailed it. That's exactly
Okay.
right. Yeah. So we could, right? It's a gamble, but we could bond that. We have a fair bit of bonding capacity. I think we could bond up to, Ethan, maybe you know better, but I think it's something like $15 million. But we obviously don't want to, we don't want to go bond that much money.
Council-matic bond?
Yeah, Councilmatic,
Yeah.
yeah. But, you know, the debt service on that is gonna be hot, so, you know, we don't want to bond that much. Ideally, if we have to bond, we want to make that bond amount as low as possible. And if we could back it up with, you know, if we could get that grant money, then we could potentially pay off good portions of that bond. There's bonds usually have a term and they won't let you pay them off too early because the bank, you know, they won't, they'll allow you to pay it off a little bit early, but not, you can't pay it all at once because they got to make their money and they count on that interest. However, we could either bank that money, that bond, or that grant money, but I don't think that would likely be the case. I think we'd be able to pay most of it off.
It just depends too, because when they give you the grant money, you might have to use it by a certain time too, so you couldn't bank it for the purpose of paying the bond.
Well, and if I can also chime in here, there have been 3 bond measures on the ballot over the past, is it 12 or 15 years, Jeff?
Yeah, since 2010, yep.
There are 3 separate times that bond measures have been put on the ballot to fund this, and it has been defeated every time. And what Jeff is talking about is the power that the council has to do a councilmanic bond. And what that basically requires is a majority vote from the council to say, we're gonna bond money for this. I can tell you for certain that that would not be a unanimous vote in favor. I think that there are council people, I'm absolutely certain that council members exist that would not be willing to do a councilmanic bond for something that the citizens of Snoqualmie have already voted against bonding 3 times.
But
Councilmanic,
that's ancient.
Did you say
That's been years ago.
Did you say it's
Wasn't
majority approval? Or?
it's been over the course of the past 15 years. It's been
But it's been nearly a
several.
decade, hasn't it?
No,
Since they got it in?
no,
It's not. It failed a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
2
no,
years ago.
no.
Oh, okay.
This is, now, one of the arguments is that a bond measure in order to pass has to get a 60% vote. And one of the arguments that people have made is that over the course of these 3 bonds, the votes have been getting closer. I don't think that's good enough. I don't think that, yeah, and the attitude that you know, if our fire department is asking people for their used hoses so that they can fight fires, if our policemen are loading their guns with caps, I will pass a councilmanic bond to pay for public safety things. If all of a sudden we can't get clean water in this town, I would vote in favor of a councilmanic bond to fix a public safety, public health issue like that. But I don't think a councilmanic bond is going to pay for the new swimming pool. That's one man's opinion.
And you said there's a majority vote by the council, not a unanimous vote?
I'm not sure if it's a majority or a super majority. But is it a majority or a super majority, Jeff?
Yeah, you know, I don't know the answer to that either. I
It's either
think
4
it
or
is
5.
simple
It
majority,
does
but I'm
have
not
to
sure
be
about that.
unanimous. It does not have to be unanimous.
Yeah.
So a dinner and a silent auction.
Yeah,
There you go.
Yeah. We need some ideas.
It's resolved now.
Yeah. Right, yeah.
Yeah, Jeff, I really do think that there are a lot of people who, I mean, after you've explained how big the pool is, I don't think people, I mean, I didn't know, and people I talk to, it constantly comes up about paying the cost of a Y membership. What will we get as community members without being a Y membership? I know a lot of people who we've lived here for 8 years. We've been waiting for this expansion, you know, I mean, we've known people, well, it's time to join the club pool. We can swim there year round. We get swim lessons there. My kids don't need swim lessons anymore, but I don't think people know what they will be getting as community members versus having to pay another membership fee
Mhm.
like somewhere else. Yeah.
That's the point of the open house.
I
As
also, I also,
Councilmember Benson mentioned, yeah,
yeah,
there,
don't think,
it's not just the pool, right?
right, right. I
There's
also,
going to be expanded services for seniors, for children. There's a rather large child care center that's getting built with it. There's 2 new big spaces for fitness, and there's a lot of community spaces. So there's a whole community room for events. So it provides a lot of service.
do you know if I have 2 kids. I have an 11-year-old and an 18-year-old. I can be honest with you in that going to an open house probably isn't for my first way of finding out about things. Is there a way you can promote this more through the school district, or through the senior centers? Or are there other ways to help people understand about this project rather than people having to physically go to an open house?
Well, there is of course, there's all of the mailers and the public outreach. There's also the project webpage. I think that they are considering ways to reach out for more to the community. So if you have ideas, I think they would love to hear that.
Okay, so who would I reach out to with ideas?
I would talk to Dana McCall. She's our public information officer. That's who I'd
Okay.
reach out to first.
Okay, perfect. Okay, great. Thank you.
Mhm.
She used to run the Living Snoqualmie blog. I don't know if she still does.
No, she doesn't, but yeah, that was her.
Yeah.
It's a Wonderful Life floors underneath our.
And she ran the newspaper for a long time too.
Okay, as far as commissioners, it sounds like we talked about this a bit in November, but I think more for this open house, it sounds like our roles can be to get out the word, right, of these open houses in the
Mhm.
meantime. So we've got until tomorrow for one of them, and
For the
then
first one. The next
Thursday.
one is the 31st.
Yep. So well, Thursday for this project, and then also then on the 31st.
Again for the, yep. Mhm.
Yep.
It'll
Okay.
be the same open house. Yep.
So Parks Plan open house tomorrow, Wednesday. Community Center expansion project Thursday, the
Correct.
17th,
The 18th.
the 18th, and then also on the 31st.
Correct.
Okay,
And then there'll be a town hall forum as well. That's out in February
Okay.
for which one?
for the community center.
Okay, a town hall, okay.
Mhm.
Hey, Nicole, can I ask you a question? Just something I've been curious about, in regards to people actually physically going somewhere versus, so the donations at Christmas time where, I think maybe the firemen came around picking things up and that changed to people going to the fire department. Did that happen this year? Oh, I can't hear you. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, she's just muted.
Okay,
No, it didn't, Heather.
okay,
Last year it was at the fire station. In 2020 with COVID, they started the Santa parade through town, and then they, did that. But I think it was sadly just one of those things. We've had some staffing changes, fire chief changed, and then one of our volunteer firefighters, I think just capacity issues. It didn't happen. It was one of those things. I think I started on vacation on December 16th, and I thought, oh my God, what happened to the Santa parade food drive? So
oh, that's okay. I just remember we put food out, but I remember the time when you had to go drop it off. And my husband actually saw that and he said, wow, that's not going to be as successful because people aren't going to say it's far easier to put the stuff outside than to go to it. So I was just curious on the statistics about that, thinking that might be a good example where people are less likely to go. Anyway, never mind.
yeah, no, I think this conversation is good for me. I'm not in the communications team, but my work overlaps with them, and I work very collaboratively with them. I think this is good feedback because what I'm hearing as an observer is you guys are getting one-on-one questions answered, and Jeff is able to dispel rumors. He's able to provide information, and I think that you almost can't get that online or reading always on a web page. So I think that this is good interaction. So I think just if you guys can just spread the word again as ambassadors and Heather, let the people that come to you all the time, let them know that here's these 2 different opportunities.
Yeah.
I'm also wondering what you guys would think if they were to do maybe mini Zoom meetings like this, so people don't have to leave their house, but they zoomed in. But I'm just curious what you think about that. The ROA has been doing that with during COVID with their new homeowners. It used to be an in-person event where they might get 50 people. Now they're getting like 150 people coming in on a Zoom meeting. So I'm just kind of curious. I'm taking an opportunity to take a poll here with you guys to run back to Dana with.
That's a great idea. I actually hopped in on the public safety meeting at 5 p.m. today because of a concern, and I thought it was great. I actually fully intended on going down to City Hall, but the weather kind of deterred me a little bit.
Yeah.
I think that might be a great idea. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'll talk with Dana about that tomorrow.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that's a really good idea. Anything virtual makes things so much easier for so many people.
Mm-hmm.
Our Zoom capacities might not be able to do something like that the way the ROA does, but I will definitely pose the question to communications and IT and see if that's something that we could do from the warmth of our own homes.
Yeah. Or actually in your car too, if you're not driving.
There you go. Yeah.
I've done parks meetings while my son's driving home from baseball, and I've been at the game. So that's the way I've been able to participate. So
yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, back to just the community center itself. This has been really helpful, Jeff. Thanks so much.
Sure.
Does anybody have any kind of last thought that they'd like to add before we move on to the splash pad?
I think we
No?
beat that one to death tonight.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
In a good
yeah,
way.
it's very
In a
thorough.
good way. Yeah.
How much time do we have here, by the way? I want to know if I need to accelerate these.
I think it shuts down at 8:30.
I think the community center expansion is gonna be the longest winded thing we'll ever talk about at any meeting, so the rest of them will probably be pretty quick bullets.
Okay.
So as you're talking about the splash pad, Jeff, I want you to somehow interject with why you have this awesome plane in your background. What the story is there.
It's
And go.
it's my airplane. It's I live in Fall City Airport at
oh,
an airstrip.
so
Yeah.
cool.
Cool.
So I'm in my hangar. My wife has taken over my office. So this is now my office and at least my home office. And so it actually is a good office. It works pretty good. It's just kind of cold in here right now.
Awesome.
So splash
Okay.
pad, quickly. We have selected a contractor and construction will begin on that in, I think, April is what we're hoping for. We have our equipment. It has been delivered to the city, so we have it stored on site. If you don't know, the splash pad is going to be located where the sport court is near the skate park. And we are toying with the idea about building some additional picnic shelter next to it. But I don't know. We may try, if the community center expansion goes forward, there is an existing structure that we may repurpose for a picnic shelter at that location, maybe as a separate project. So part of what because it's a water facility, we have to get some training. So I got staff we're staggering their training sessions. They have to learn how to operate and maintain a pool facility, which a splash pad qualifies as. So you'll start seeing that here in the spring, and we should have that thing up and running by, I'm hoping, July.
Question.
Next thing you want to talk about? Do you have any questions?
Question for you, Jeff?
Yeah.
So when that construction starts, we're likely to get questions regarding where's the basketball court going to go. Have we heard anything back from Kimley Horn on their assessment of that entire park facility, on where tennis courts, where the basketball court might go, pickleball courts? I know that was one of the things that they were tasked to do.
Yeah, I don't believe we're there yet. I think that right now we're still kind of in the exploration phase. right? So first getting an inventory of what we have and trying to understand what our maintenance and cost burdens are and all of that. So, and that's part of the reason for this open house, to kind of get more public input on the facilities that we have, and then to get ideas, right? And there's lots of ideas. There's a big group of people that want a dog park up on the ridge, right? There's folks who want more all-inclusive, playground facilities and that sort of thing. So, we're trying to gather up that information. As far as where the sports courts go, we have some idea where we might put those, but that whole siting study issue has not been vetted yet.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Will that issue be resolved before you break ground on the splash pad?
Not likely. I
Okay,
would say no. I would say that sometime this summer, though, it'll be concurrent with the construction of the splash pad.
okay, because I feel like a lot of people will be upset when they see
Their
their
sport court turned
basketball.
into a splash pad. Yeah, right.
Yes, and with no, I mean, I think it was Mike mentioned, well, there are the basketball courts at Cascade View. That absolutely is not a replacement for the courts that
Yeah.
are there currently.
Yeah.
So I don't personally use the basketball courts over there, but if I did, I might be pretty upset, especially if there wasn't a plan forward, like where I might be able to play basketball. Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, folks are
Yeah,
just gonna
yeah, and the
simply
tennis
show up
courts.
one day and not know what's going on, and the jackhammers will be out eating up the basketball court. You're just gonna want to have an answer for the questions when they come in to just
Mm.
inform folks.
Yeah.
Okay, so are plans for the splash pad on your site? On are they available somewhere?
We do have the plans. I think we have you know what? That's a good question, Heather. I don't know that we have a
Yeah, I'm
project
just
page, but
honestly, I'm just curious. So if I went onto the Snoqualmie Ridge Facebook page and said, hey, this is the plan for the splash pad, they will be removing basketball courts. If you have any input, please attend this open house.
yeah.
Could one do that? Could I do that? Like, I think that might grab some people's attention.
Yeah, the splash pad and the community center are separate projects with separate funding sources. So I think though that you will be able to find somebody at the open house that would gladly talk about the splash pad, especially Mike. It's Mike's baby. That was his,
But
shambles.
is there somewhere concrete on the city's site that I wouldn't want to make stuff up on the Facebook Ridge page, but I can assure you that a lot, I don't know the statistic, that's where I find most of my information from.
Wait, sorry to interrupt. Sorry, Jeff, the building alarm's going off. Do you know how to turn it off?
Oh, which alarm?
I hear an alarm going.
It went do 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 do. Now it's going meow 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 meow.
Before like the
Oh, it
police.
sounds like either the smoke alarm or the CO2 alarm.
Oh,
I don't know. I don't know how to turn that off. That's a good question. Is there anybody else there?
I don't know. I'm gonna go downstairs.
If we close the door, we won't be able to hear it as much.
We'll know where to find you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just check and make sure there's nothing burning.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
Heather, there is a resource on the city site with the
Okay.
splash pad information.
so
Yeah.
I could link that to the Facebook Ridge page and say, hey, look, the city is planning this. If you have any input, please come to this open house. And I mean, I think people would have some comments. A lot of people are
Well,
on.
it's public information. You can do whatever you want. I mean, it's out there. We
Yeah.
want participation, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I
Good,
think
bad. The thing I learned as a planner is even if somebody's upset or they don't know anything and they're agitated, that's still information. Right?
yeah, I think the more
Informed
information
opinions or not informed opinions, you still get things bubbling to the surface. So.
Right. I just wouldn't want to show up to play basketball one day and see it roped off. Yeah.
Would it be possible to put specific alternatives? I mean, they may not be nearby, but say, hey, the basketball court's being closed for a project, for forever until we come up with a new spot. Here are some other options for you. Here are where there are other basketball courts, like the one at Fisher Park or the one at Cascade View, something like that preemptively.
The current plan, I'll tell you now, the current plan is to build it right adjacent to the splash pad, along with a pickleball court. I think a couple pickleball courts was the plan.
Like
But
perpendicular splash pad to go along the path that goes up the hill.
yeah, kind of along the path.
Is that the schematic we looked at?
That play field, we don't want to impact the play field because it gets a lot of use. And it
Yeah.
also generates revenue.
Yeah, Paul, I think that is what we looked at because I remember thinking the only thing it really impacts is sledding
Ah,
in the winter.
Yeah,
But other than that, it keeps that field nice and open.
Yeah, we saw a few different like schematics or a couple of different like potential drawings of where everything could be located. Yeah, maybe now when I was out trying to find the alarm, I don't know if you guys talked about this, but when you do the proposed land use sign, when you're building a splash pad, that's part where you could explain we are, this basketball court and other courts will be rebuilt in this area.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have that master plan kind of developed by now, so that we would include that with the splash pad page. But I don't think we're there yet. The splash pad went awfully quick.
It's slippery.
It's a slippery slope we're on here. Managing expectations, that is the guiding light in this, I would say.
Well, I think what you guys are suggesting, and again, that's a great role that you serve for us, is helping us the pulse of the community. And we can all look back on what happened with the little dog park we started. We didn't get out ahead of it. We didn't pull the community. They weren't pleased with it. There's things that the city's going to have to do to be able to move some of these projects along. So there's always going to be something in somebody's backyard, but it's also about communication and getting ahead of the messaging. And I think that's what you guys are trying to help us to reinforce that if we have an option and we think it's pretty solid, that maybe we should, get that out there sooner than later. So I think that your feedback is very helpful. And Jeff, I know you're just stepping into this and we've all talked about these things for months. So we're just trying to get you up to speed as well.
Yeah, no, that's all good.
I have a question about the splash pad. I feel like I asked several times and didn't ever get a clear answer. Is it fenced? Is the splash pad fenced in some way?
I don't think it's fenced, is it, Jeff? But the bench acts as like a fence, isn't it?
I don't know that it's fenced. I'm not sure. I'll have to get back to you on that. I don't know.
Okay. I honestly was concerned about that because of the parking lot there and small children darting. My two kids were never kids to run, but I know a lot of parents who've had kids that they're fast, very fast. And there's a parking lot there and people the splash pad will be in use when there are, Snoqualmie Valley Youth soccer games going on, lacrosse games going on, SMS, like middle school soccer game. There'll be a lot of cars and I hope there's some sort of barrier for those little kids that run fast.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're maintaining the fence between the skate park and the splash pad.
I would hope so. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we might be able
so.
to put up a fence along the parking strip, even though there's quite a bit of a berm that would go there. But I think but the one that's on the grass side out to the field, I thought that the little kind of sitting on the bench, like a cement bench, was kind of acting as the fence on that side.
I was talking about the parking lot side, and I thought Mike's last comment was there are invisible fences and visible fences, and he prefers invisible. And you
have to put a shot collar on your child.
I I don't know. I don't know if he meant, a row of shrubs or with thorns. I don't really, I don't know. But, something that looked pleasing to the eye, but that wasn't a chain link fence. I have no idea, but I think that needs to be considered because that's a very busy parking lot and
The description that Mike was giving of the facility would be that it would have a de facto fence in that bench surrounding it it's a stop to that running toddler or child, that it's a barrier so that they're not going to just go running headlong into the parking lot. It's just, but it's not a chain link fence.
right. Okay.
Between that prohibits access to the facility.
Right.
You want to limit the running out of, but not limit the access to, was the sense that I got from the description that Mike gave of the facility.
Okay.
But nothing's gonna stop my running belly flop on the pad on opening day.
I don't think anybody's even trying. But you will be doing a belly flop onto cement.
Fair enough.
Some kind of, okay, right, just.
I'm pain free.
All right.
Okay, any more comments on the splash pad? Comments or questions?
No.
Ready to move on, group? We've, according to Dina's clock, we've got 10 minutes. Next on the agenda is Centennial Park, all-inclusive playground. I can't wait to hear about updates because it looks awesome.
Yeah, have you guys been out there recently? The equipment is in.
Yeah.
So we're closing in on finishing that up. That should be done. Well, we are hoping by the end of this month, but I'm guessing it'll probably be the second week of February by the time it's all completed. There's a sensory garden in there which has, plantings and stuff, which may run a little long, but we don't want to plant, I think, until like mid-February. But other than that, that park will be completed, and we're trying to plan when we're going to do the ribbon cutting, and we're thinking middle of February at this point. So on time and almost on time and on budget. So it's a successful project.
It looks like a gem. It looks really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
It's a great location for it too.
Yeah. Yeah. So middle of February would probably be before our next meeting. Is that right?
Mhm. I think so.
Should we look for the weekly newsletter, or could we?
I just signed up for it.
Great. Okay. Or I was going to say, or could we expect a direct email? But it sounds like weekly newsletter is the way, the
There'll be a
route that you
ribbon.
prefer.
Yeah, there'll be a ribbon cutting ceremony. So yeah, we'll definitely push that out.
Okay. That's what I want to know about. So we can be there and get excited.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, and thank you to, is it Dylan? Our last meeting in November, we had recommended that he put up there'd be like an info plaque, even with like a QR code or something, and that was put up right away. I had a couple friends actually notice it, and when I went running down there, I was like, yay, there it is. So that was great to have that up, so you could learn more about it.
Yeah, that's his project. He's been he's the project manager on it. So he did send something out today.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the email, just to kind of give you guys the update on it. But basically, just what I just told you. So anyway,
I like
it's a
the
good
colors.
project.
It looks like
Yeah.
it's Seahawks colors too. Seahawks,
Yeah, kind of
Sounders,
green. Yeah, that's right.
Mariners.
They want the green. Yeah.
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 Great.
It looks really good. Yeah.
Okay, any other comments or questions on Centennial Park, the all-inclusive playground? No? All right, next I think was something that Heather wanted to talk about, which was city park and trail signage, which we started talking a little bit about, and now we're back to it.
Right. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it will be appropriate for another meeting. I'm not sure if updating signage or increasing signage is in the city's budget, but it's definitely outdated, lacks pop, and there's just no signage in a lot of places. And that's why I originally joined the Parks Commission, was to work on that. And I live on the ridge, so I can really only comment on the ridge, but there are a lot of trails that we have access to. And for example, if you start off at Stellar Park up on the ridge, there is access to Silent Creek Trail, but there's absolutely no sign. There's just a little path. And I mean, I lived here 8 years. I've figured it out, but well, for the most part, and actually still just figured things out. But there isn't really much signage. And also, I know people come in from Lake Alice coming that way to access the trails in the community up here. And I'm honestly uncertain about how rules differ. And maybe Jeff, does the Lake Alice community have a leash law? Do you know?
A leash law?
Mhm. I couldn't
don't-
I couldn't figure it out online. Honestly, I was trying to figure, do they or no?
I have no idea if they have, if Lake Alice, I mean, Lake Alice is a private community.
Oh, okay. Interesting you say private. What do you mean? It's not incorporated King
Oh, I'm
County?
sorry. Not a private community. Not part of the Snoqualmie community, I should say.
Okay.
So they are.
King County then?
Are they unincorporated or incorporated King County?
They would be unincorporated King County.
So they would not have a leash law then?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I have to look that up.
Okay. I'm curious, and I've talked to a lot of people with dogs and such, and I actually just recently had a bit of, personally, one of my dogs was attacked on the trail back there by off-leash dogs, and it really made me question. I didn't get into it with the young man. He said he came onto the trail and left the leashes at the trailhead, and he had no idea there was a leash law. I didn't want to judge whether or not that was true. Most of my encounters with, quite honestly, like, the citizens are lying. They know there's a leash law. Okay. In this case, I wondered though, I really started to wonder. I wondered if he accessed the trail from Lake Alice, and I wondered if they don't have a leash law because they're possibly not incorporated King County. And if this young man honestly didn't know. So there are points where you can enter Silent Creek Trail, which is in Snoqualmie, and there is certainly a leash law, and it's dangerous. It's very dangerous. I'm not sure that any signage would have stopped him from running with the dogs off leash. No idea, but there are no signs. And I think there should be signs. I think there should be direction as to where paths and trails go. And I think the city park signage needs to be updated. Stellar Park is another example where there is this sign kind of near the playground, but nothing stands out about it. And
what we were talking about, Heather, if you don't mind me chiming in, was, and I think this is right before Heather came on, I've also beat this drum on the signage on the trails, was kind of a comprehensive signage plan that not only addressed the wayfinding, but also addressed, reminding people to pick up their dog poop. Now we have the leash issue, just like a system. If you ever go to Redmond Ridge, they have a system of signage and kiosks with like dog bags. Something to educate folks on, the rules of the road.
Right.
In our community.
Yeah, and Jeff, it was
Yeah.
Jeff, in how you described Lake Alice as a private community. And I know that's not what you meant, but I just recently had an encounter with a resident of Snoqualmie Valley, and she referred to the ridge as as private land. And I asked her to explain that to me. And she said, well, you have an ROA. Mm-hmm. I said, well, yes, but it's still the city of Snoqualmie rules. This resident did not think that, for example, leash laws applied on the trails on the ridge because the ridge is private land because it has an ROA. And
education.
So while might not seem important, I am educated daily by people. Well, people don't understand. I think I've made my point.
Signage means education. I mean, you can't lead the horse to water and make the person read the signage.
No.
But if you put the signage there, there it is. There
Well, and
it is.
I think it helps too when there are situations where you're just asking a resident to behave as the resident should. You should just be able to quickly point, like, hey, look, like instead of calling the non-emergency police line or something. So I think maybe at the next meeting, maybe you could look into that a bit to see if there is any sort of budget or anything to add or increase
I
signage.
think that, let me work on this.
Okay.
We do have, we are updating our CIP plan.
Mhm.
We do have funding for trails,
Oh,
and
great.
we do have funding for some signage,
Okay.
mostly with regard to transportation, but that doesn't, we can find a place for this.
Okay.
We do have a sign making machine now, so we can actually make signs.
Oh,
So,
wow.
I think like, heard Paul say, signage plan, and I think that's actually not a bad idea. So one, we'd have to kind of develop the general look and feel of what our signage system will look like.
Right.
And we have all those graphics available, right? So we could probably look at different options for design and then kind of bring those forward to the commission here and have you guys kind of weigh in on them and give
That
us
would
your
be awesome.
thoughts.
That's
And
what,
then also, I could do a small project. I have a really terrific young engineer who, I think would take this and eat it up. It's to help develop a sign plan. I think that's a good idea. So let
great.
me look into it. I'm gonna
Great.
have to work on the funding aspect of it, but, I think
Just
we
Jeff,
can
I want to
definitely
say
do it.
that Mike in the past alluded to, maybe it's under the preview of Kimley Horn's contract. I don't know where trail signage falls, but that might be an instrument. You might look into that a little bit more.
Yeah, well, I mean, this could roll into a bigger thing too. So I can see, I know you're primarily interested in the trail signage, but we have wayfinding signs all over town for other modes of traffic as well. So I think we'll want to play with a little bit of it so that it's somewhat consistent.
right. Well, my husband actually joked when I told him, I joined this committee. I'm really passionate about this. I was working on it with Paul, and my husband said, forget about signage at the city level. It's crazy at the state level. When we first moved here, we were blown away by the freeway entrance signs, and it says freeway entrance, and it doesn't tell you if you're going east, west, north, or south, but it just says freeway entrance.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Do you by chance know, and this is curiosity, the Silent Creek Trail where it intersects with the Power Line Trail, which you could go to Lake Alice. There has been a barrier down, that guardrail. The guardrail has been down and there's a cement block behind it when you walk. Do you know why that is there?
Yeah, we had people driving on it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So I'm curious because honestly, I awkwardly hop over that barrier almost daily, and my dogs, it's kind of this whole leash exchange thing because it's too high for them to jump, but it's too low for me to crawl under. Does the barrier need to be down, or is the cement block a barrier enough?
I don't know. I should go out and look at it. It's been a long time since I've been out there. What is it? Are you concerned about just the difficulty in crossing over it?
Honestly, I mean, I can cross over it, but again, I have leashed dogs that when become unleashed will not come, like they're huskies, they will
Yeah.
roam. So and I can't imagine I'm the only one who has this issue. I mean, I'm athletic enough that I can hop over this and, do the leash exchange underneath. But
Yeah.
I
But
mean,
maybe,
somebody with a running stroller, how
yeah,
are they can't do that.
yeah, right.
Right.
Let me look into it.
Okay, thank you.
I wonder if it's a private property issue, but let me check.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. Otherwise, we could provide pedestrian access through there. Right.
Okay.
We could do it so that a pedestrian could get through without having to climb over something.
You mean
It's
by
maybe a narrow passageway.
like mowing down the thorns on the side or something? Is
Yeah,
that
sure.
what?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that works too. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, we can figure something out.
Well,
Did you
thank you.
send me an email about exactly where that is? Silent Creek Trail where it meets the power lines.
It's Silent Creek Trail where it meets the power lines. And instead of going left towards, say, the pea patch, you go right towards Lake Alice. And it's not way far down. I mean, it's pretty soon at that. Yeah. You wouldn't even have to walk far just to be able to see the barrier down. Yeah. You used to be able to swing it, just move it, but it's locked in place.
Okay.
Heather, maybe
It-
send a, maybe you
Probably
could send
needs
a,
some maintenance.
yeah,
I'll
follow-up
have
email
somebody check it
too.
out.
All right. Thank you.
Okay,
So-
I love the idea of the signage. That's exciting. So maybe we can, in a minute, talk about that for future discussions for February or maybe even March, depending on how much time you need, Jeff. And then last thing on our agenda, if we still have time, Dina, it's 8:34, everyone. How we doing? The last thing on our agenda, ironically, is the thing that's happening tomorrow. So it might be helpful just to circle back and talk about it before we hear from Nicole. I guess it's not the very last thing kind of marked on our agenda. Parks and Open Spaces Open House. Jeff, is there anything that we should know about regarding tomorrow's event that we didn't already discuss?
No, not really. I think we kind of talked about it. I mean, it's there's the link, the link to the city's webpage, which provides some additional information. No, I can't really think of I can't think of anything offhand. I mean, what we've talked about is that we're trying to gather information, get input from the community. We're
Okay.
still in the exploratory phase of this project, so we need to get input. So we need to hear from citizens.
And Jeff, is there a link on the city website that that pulls up a PDF of the plan as it is currently written?
No, I'm pretty sure they haven't developed any portion of the plan yet. There's the old one.
The old one, not the one they're updating, but
Yeah.
the old one is the roadmap to the update in question.
I don't know that that is on the project.
Well, I mean,
here.
I guess it would be the current one because the one they're working on is not official until adopted.
Right. Right.
So it would be the current one, right?
Yeah, the current, yeah. Yeah. And I don't know that that's on that link to that project page, but it should be. So let me check on that.
Because to be honest, in my mind's eye, I saw myself going to the meeting tomorrow night and looking at the document as it currently exists to refresh myself and sitting in a chair for 20 minutes with it before I thought I would be able to speak intelligently to anything going on in that room,
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, it's a good point. I don't know that I assume that it is linked, but I don't know that it is for certain. So I will make sure though that it does get linked on.
Okay. Jeff, you had mentioned name tags. Could we, if we're planning on going tomorrow, could we have some name tags?
Yes.
That would be great. Make us look quasi ambassador.
Hopefully I can get them to you by tomorrow and delivered.
Otherwise, we could all wear matching shirts, you guys. Shirt colors.
I talked about merch a few years ago, but
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
think the council
I'll try
liaison
to-
times it's no, we don't have a budget for that. No merch. But now
can
we're
put it-
commissioners, so we sound fancier.
Future discussion. Get more serious about our merch asks.
Coffee mugs. Water bottles,
Name tags.
lighters, just kidding.
Let's start with
Not
name tags and we'll see how we do.
Yeah.
Okay, if there's nothing else about the Parks and Open Spaces open house tomorrow, Nicole, you are up.
Yeah, we're not really in the season of events right now. What I'm doing is planning for events. I think the one update I would have for you guys is that the crews are working to take the holiday lights downtown, but the white lights on Center Boulevard, those will stay up through mid-February just to have a little winter magic and a little winter light. So it'll stay bright up there through the middle of February. So kind of my update. I know it's late, and I'm here if anyone has any questions.
Nicole, I have a question about the lights.
Sure.
I hate to refer to the Ridge Facebook page, but I refrained on commenting because I wasn't 100% sure. But at one point, there was a comment asking or stating that, I don't remember exactly, the downtown lights look nicer than the lights on Center Boulevard. And years ago, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't it an issue where the ROA paid for those lights, and then the city was kind enough to then pick up that cost that didn't have to continue to exist, correct?
Yes, it's kind of a nuance. It's not nuance. It's a multi answer to your question. That this is correct. I lost track of the year because we're in 2-year budget cycles, but we got the Ridge lighting responsibility in the middle of a 2-year budget cycle. And the expenditure for doing the lights downtown on the Ridge is significant. And staff does it. And then we also contract. I also cobble together grants to help pay for it and to offset the cost. All of the lights are LED. We've been replenishing them so that those are, a less of a strain on the budget. The downtown, it's just the tradition. It always has been. It will be that it's more charming. It's the base is tourism, not as much the residents. That's going to be where the color is. The Ridge has always been white lights, as far as I know. I've never been told that it's any different. We've maintained that. And so by having the lights stay on longer up there, it kind of gives the base, which is the residents and the businesses on Center, a little more longevity in the wintertime, in the winter doldrums. So I feel as a city, we're doing a good job of balancing it.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and lights is a very contentious issue, and it's very triggering for a lot of people.
Right. I remember when it happened, but it is true that those lights, they could have went away once the agreement ended with the ROA, and the city was kind enough to pick that up. So that's, I mean,
and the trees have grown. So for us to be able to do all of them and the power challenges that we have, I guess I would want to say to the community, I really hope you like what you have, because we're struggling just to maintain what we have in the system. And I'm nervous of what the future holds. And I'm like the one that's always, can we do this? Can we do this? Knowing I'm taking guys that are already lean and their resources. What was that?
We can't even light this building right now.
I know. Well, we're economizing. PSC has asked everybody to, cut back. So Heather, I hope I answered your question. I like to say to people when I'm out and about that Snoqualmie is a very lucky community outside of Bellevue. If you go to other East Side communities, the cities don't put the resources into holiday lights, or maybe it's usually downtown groups or something. But I guess I'm like, be grateful for what we have, because it's really amazing. And I know I'm not picking on you, Heather. I hope you know.
No, I see. That's how I wanted to respond to this that I saw, but I couldn't be 100% certain that in my memory, that's how it played out. So next year, if somebody complains about it, I most certainly will add that we should be grateful we have the lights up here, because
and the way that I cobble it together sounds like I'm making shoes, but the ones on Center, I do pay for that primarily with grants. And it doesn't negate it whether you're being paid with dollars or grants. It's just, I'm always trying to balance it and to have equity, in something. So
yeah. I just wanted to make sure my brain remembered correctly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's always a discussion. If you saw the lights my husband threw onto the bushes, we would, it's not pretty at my house.
Yeah, you should see our never.
Okay. Thanks for that. I'm excited that they'll stay up for another month or so. It is awfully dark out there. in the, at least the ones up on the center, it makes it look really nice.
Mhm.
And it
Okay, you
tricks us
guys.
into thinking Christmas is every night still.
Yeah, that
Yeah, at
there's
least
hope.
for me. Yeah, I go, oh, it's Christmas. Oh, wait, it's just the lights.
Yeah. Okay, you guys, so for future discussion, future ideas, sounds like signage for sure, trail signage, possibly then getting to a bigger picture of town signage and whatever other type of signage that moves into. Anything else?
I'm assuming there would be a community center update after these open houses, Jeff, or
Good one.
do you need some time to synthesize that information?
Yeah, a little bit. Let's let's do that in March. I think I'll give you an update at the next meeting if it's in February. Just let you know where we're at. But I
Okay.
don't anticipate there's going to be any major movement happening on that project until about March.
Okay, well, maybe just a quick update then, so we're in the loop.
Yep.
Okay, any other ideas now? Otherwise, everyone can let me know. So think about it for a minute. So it looks like our next meeting is going to be on Tuesday, February 20th. Is that correct? Because the day before is a holiday. So if anybody has any, yep. So
that is midwinter break week too.
it is. It's midwinter break for those of us with school age kids. Do we still want to have the meeting that night? Do we want to consider, could we push it back? Do we want to skip February? What do we want to do?
I'm game for February.
I'm fine.
We need 3.
Yeah. Okay, Scott gave a thumbs up. I'm
good.
probably fine too.
I'm so far fine. I'm trying to book a vacation.
Okay.
So you don't have to tolerate us.
Do you need our advice on where you're going?
We've been batting a few things around last couple days.
Okay. Well,
You're not
include
gonna
us.
take it
We
with
want to
you?
go. Okay, so it sounds like we're in favor of having the next meeting on that Tuesday, February 20th, and hopefully we can reach a quorum, those of us that can make it. That'd be great. So if you have an idea for the agenda, please email me by Wednesday, the Wednesday before, which it looks like is Valentine's Day. So remember that Valentine's Day, that evening, and then I can pass it on to Jeff and let him know.
Great.
Okay. Sounds good. So there being no further business to come before the commission, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn today's meeting.
I move that we adjourn this wonderful meeting that you've conducted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I
second
second. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, great. So there's a motion by Paul to adjourn and a second by Heather and somebody else to adjourn as well. All those that approve adjourning the meeting now say aye.
Aye.
I
Bye.
Aye. Okay, thanks everybody. Well done. This is a long one.